U.S. President Donald Trump squares off against the media, setting the tone for a tumultuous year of coverage at the White House. Hello, I'm Anand Naidu, and this is The Heat. Donald Trump's first year in office was anything but conventional. The U.S. president blasted the media over and over again, describing journalists as, quote, extremely dishonest, unfair, and not good people. Unlike previous presidents, Mr. Trump circumvented newspapers and television through Twitter, using short bursts of text to share his thoughts. CGTN's Mike Walter explores Trump's use of social media and how it's shaped media coverage.
After the inauguration, it wasn't long before the world was treated to a torrent of Trump tweets.
It was the social media storm that looked poised to disrupt relations on both sides of the Atlantic.
A Twitter blitz, 10 tweets, from demanding action on health care to attacking Hillary Clinton. He even noted that a president has the complete power to pardon.
People say, oh, he's so outrageous. Well, watch what happens when he gets outrageous. That becomes the story. What he clearly wants to do is not give up the agenda setting to others. He wants to set the agenda himself.
This is Clark Judge sitting opposite his boss, the 40th President of the United States, in the Oval Office. He said back in the 1980s, the Washington Post and New York Times set the agenda, and the White House had to respond. Not anymore.
He uses Twitter to drive television, to drive radio, to drive the newspapers, to drive all of the old technologies, and they in turn magnify him.
Margaret Engel was a reporter for the Post when Reagan was in office. She says the Post and New York Times still set the agenda for the most part, but she admits covering the tweets presents challenges.
You have to be alert to those 3 a.m. tweets that we're getting. So you have to respond to it, and I think that the exhaustion level is enormous for journalists today, because nowhere has there been a time where you have to be on red alert 24/7, and that is the case.
Gene Policinski is one of the founding editors of USA Today. Today, he's president and CEO of the Newseum Institute. He recognizes a new chapter in journalism history is being written because of Trump tweets.
He's very effective, but I joke that what he has today is fireside tweets.
Gene sees Trump as being not very much different than past presidents like JFK, for example, in that he's able to take the technology of the time, bypass traditional media, and go straight to the people.
John Kennedy, very telegenic man. He would seize control of the media, so to speak, by having live televised news conferences. He did those in Washington. He was very good at it. He had a witty guy, handsome guy. They seized the medium of television, still in those days relatively new in 1960, 61.
But there are obvious differences.
How about the concept of this shiny object, people chasing this shiny object rather than maybe covering the more important story of the day? Do you think that's actually happening out there?
Well, it's interesting that I think the tweet that might just be conversational or dramatic or sensational probably does crowd out a significant story that, with limited resources, limited time, limited attention span from the audience.
And that concerns Engel, who is now executive director at the Alicia Patterson Foundation, which funds investigative journalists' passion projects. The very projects that might get squeezed by a dramatic presidential tweet.
What is the consensus as we turn the page on the first year?
I'm really encouraged that the press is starting to move beyond that, and even though they're having to deal with his Twitter storms, they're starting to give more weight to the stories that really make a difference in people's lives.
All three of the people we spoke to know tweets are garnering attention now, but they aren't sure they'll mean much when viewed through the long lens of history.
I think Twitter will be a footnote. The real question of the Trump presidency will be written by his achievements.
I think we need to tell ourselves we're in the middle of something, so it's hard to either look back or look forward because we're right in the middle of it. It's like a storm.
A storm indeed, a Twitter storm. And the next one may be forming as we speak. Mike Welder, CGTN.